Welcome to segment 2 of our week 3 discussion in COM 2143, Digital Media Literacy. We're looking at student questions based on the readings in the class this week and working out a digital dialogue, an asynchronous dialogue, in fact. We're breaking the boundaries of time and space to communicate with one another and work on our craft. Looking at some final questions from Aaron. We will crack into the Spreadable Media text. And again, I think a newer edition has just came out in the last year. Some of our newest students will perhaps have adopted it. And most of you probably have the previous edition. But Aaron asks, on page 4, they note stickiness broadly refers to the need to create content that attracts audience attention and engagement. What kinds of websites do you think fall under this definition? All right, and fall under this definition of stickiness I'm interpreting. And my follow-up question back at us, right, the food for thought would be, well, what websites do you visit the most? What websites do you visit the most? And why? Right? Why is that you visit them? What draws you to a place or keeps you there or keeps you coming back? Is it the writing? Is it the content? Is it some kind of, something they offer that sustains your interest and attention? You're identifying the stickiness of that, right? The impact there. And that is the sense that the authors are getting at. And in fact, they're referencing a term that is already in vogue in the advertising world. Okay, everyone's looking for that sticky idea, that thing that catches and draws. And so this is we've had conversations about language and acquiring language and understanding language. This course is about literacy, a kind of literacy, or literacies, plural. And here's an example of ways we can kind of understand and operationalize and talk about how a website performs a function. Yeah. Page 17 mentions that if you create a media virus, success is yours. Producers pray their material will quote unquote go viral. What is your definition of going viral? How does it automatically mean success? And I could have looked up several technical definitions. I'm willing to bet some of our texts do indeed have those, but I went ahead and wrote something out, kind of contextualizing it for us. And in my notes it reads, like a trend, going viral could be seen as some expression in the form of web content that attracts attention enough to ignite massive shares, views, likes, or web traffic. And the big deal there is, first of all, one of social media's great functions is how it kind of stimulates our attentiveness. It kind of tickles the hubris. And so there have been hard research and even soft research can lead us to understand that the likes, right, to get likes and hearts on stuff, this gives us these micro dopamine hits. So it is acting as a stimulant, right? It's kind of activating the happiness flows in the body, right? So we're getting reinforced through that. Well, when something goes viral, it's like a volcano of likes and loves erupting. And not only that, it can lead to it can lead to unexpected consequences. And I don't mean that negatively, although it could be negatively. In fact, we could look at plenty of case studies where the wrong kind of thing goes viral, and it now creates a PR nightmare for the individual or the company or whatever. But if we're sticking to the positive here, no pun intended, we can see that that viral media can do a lot for us. If there was the right or perfect way to execute one, and there are people out there trying to master that, then we would do it all the time. But it can kind of have some of that unknown to it. There's no perfect formula, but some people work really hard to try to cultivate that. That's how we've come about in this era of social media influencers. These essentially are people that have a niche idea, execute it, and then find a way to consistently represent similar content all the time. And they get such hits in terms of users, followers, likes, shares, and so on, that they then become a monetized product themselves. So this is yet one example of a person becoming their own brand, so to speak, or kind of crossing over from individual to brand in an online domain. And think about that. Think about those YouTube channels you visit where someone's doing the same type of thing over and over and over again, and something about them, to use the French term, je ne sais quoi, right? What is that thing? It draws you to it. And it essentially, if you've got millions of people looking at your, videos and content regularly, then you in essence have monetized viral media, because you will get, when you cross that threshold, you'll be getting rewarded, right? You get kickbacks for that success. And no cards falling all over me here. So hopefully I answered that to a satisfactory level. All right, Seth had a couple of questions I want to hit from Seth. We're starting with some softballs. Can the media actually influence someone? Yes. Let's look at Spreadable Media. We've been on that topic. With social media, are we closer than ever? As in closer, I assume, like closer emotionally or relationally, like closer as humankind? All that's up for interpretation. So be specific in your questions, but are we closer than ever? Sounds like a trick question, right? That would open up a great dialogue. Are we connected, quote unquote, with more people than we probably ever would have? Arguably, yes. How many of those people would we actually be close with in real life? The number is a lot smaller. Regardless of what that number is, it would be a lot smaller. So that's different. Also, there's a lot of growing research, good, solid, strong stuff coming out in media journals, that sort of thing, from social scientists and quantitative scholars about not just media effects, but perception, and how the more time we spend online, arguably for some data supports, the more isolated we feel. Well, think about it for a minute. It's certainly more isolating if you're increasingly spending time online. Let's just take a smartphone, for example, and the increased amount of time there is a decrease in the real world, right? The physical world in your immediate space. That's my definition there. And so to isolate in one direction through one method is, there are benefits, there are detriments, all right? You're trading something always. And I think about one example is, in the classroom, I think I've seen instances where students are too reliant upon those kinds of technologies, or too used to it, used to the freedom and choice of it. And they're disengaged. Like, they can't sustain eye contact. They can't hold a conversation. So it's a problem I think we're going to be grappling with in the foreseeable future. Like it's probably a problem now, and we got to figure this thing out. We're going to wrestle with it. But guess what that does for us? it's a great opportunity for strong communicators to emerge and for us to claim those important positions, to be strong in our skill sets and be able to override some of those temptations. Question: Has social media changed the way that we view politics? Of course it has. Yes, just like the way television changed politics, right? Just like the way radio changed the way we thought about politics. And then, of course, print, mass communication in all its forms. Every time there's a new evolution, it has a direct impact. And so, absolutely, I think we can concur. I don't think there's room for a counter argument. Now, people are still people, and many message tactics can be similar over time, but definitely, we could put a hard yes on that. Do politicians need to know how to work different media platforms now? Of course they do, absolutely. And in fact, they have handlers for this. And we're not just talking about interns anymore, although interns could do that for them. Let me take it one step further. Let me connect this directly. We're training you all at various points and places in the major to be able to enter that type of job force. You could serve in those comparable types of roles with some of the training that you receive here. And, that's significant, right? Those kinds of roles are of value right now. And another question we'll hit at the end here that relates to the necessity of having an online presence. And there's no exception for that when it comes to politicians today. They all go look around, go do some searching. They all have some kind of online presence, whether they're on one extreme of the ideological spectrum or the other end, right? And as we've seen the last couple of elections, national elections, social media has played a pivotal role. It has been the medium, one could argue, helping candidates to get elected or not elected to office. Okay, a couple of quick questions from the pop culture text and Marcel Denisi. Can it be hard to tell what is actually a fact or what is just an opinion on social media? Obviously. This whole course is about that topic. This is digital media literacy. And, when you say like the difference between being literate and illiterate is being able to, read versus not read. Well, what does it mean to be digitally literate versus digitally illiterate? It could have to do with technical training, right? Just knowing how to do things, but it also has to do with knowing how to interpret things accurately, to not be skewed or misled by information online. Just like, think about, that's like the difference between looking at an item on eBay and being able to discern, is that really going to sell me what it claims it's going to sell me? Or what steps do I take to ensure that I'm getting the product that I want to bid on and win? Follow-up question here. With so many different resources on the internet, is it more difficult than ever to find a factual source? And I go back to previous comments about, source validity. And it's important for us. Part of our academic journey is to learn how to identify valid sources and to be able to discredit, invalid sources. And we don't pick it up all at once, but we need to be constantly getting better at it. And we don't get better at it just talking about it, read about it, like doing at various stages. We have a few different projects here and there. Certainly the readings themselves, these texts teach us how to do a lot of this if we're plugging in. And so just don't discount that part of the journey. But it can be more difficult to find factual sources. At the same time, there's training, go through rhythms and rigors. It doesn't always have to be more difficult. But yes, there is more misinformation out there. A lot of it intentionally. So And we cope with that. Okay. We'll pause again and we'll pick things back up for segment 3. Sit tight.